Good afternoon, my name is Isabel Babel, and I will be applying for the shift of a narrative world builder at Larian Studios and Wizards of the Coast. Now, to begin, I have a little bit of experience when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons and also games by Larian Studios. I have not only played 5th edition since the beginning of my high school years into currently, but also had recently discovered Divinity 2, which was my introduction into the world of Larian Studios, and I was immediately enthralled. One, with the vast amount of choices that are given to the protagonists. I was playing with another individual, and we had discovered that it is possible to kill the boss at the introductory island of Fort Joy, which was mind-blowing. Needless to say, we ourselves did not necessarily make it that far. We are not barrelmancers, but it was still quite an impressive. Just the fact that that was consideration had immediately intrigued me. The idea of possibilities being broadened for players is something that is phenomenal. So that is something that had sparked my intrigue, and that is why I'm here today. Some more a bit about myself. So when it comes to work ethic, I am happy to not only cover shifts for my peers, if that is something that needs to be done, but I have also in the past been known to work very long hours under conditions that are a bit more difficult, taxing conditions. Sometimes that happens when others need some support on a project, and they need me to come over. In my instance, this was when I was working at a petrified forest, which is a haunt here in Orlando. What I had done for that is I had covered the shifts of many of my peers, and so at that point in that haunt, there was essentially not a day where I was not working. And it was still great. It was I always felt supported. Everyone there was lovely, um, but uh, but it was a very nice experience. Um, One thing about my experience with Dungeons and Dragons, not only for the lore building and all that, um, but I have read the source books themselves somewhat thoroughly, and kind of has helped cultivate a fundamental understanding of the rule set and how to avoid exploiting the rules and mechanics. Also, making sure not to add any confusion to the timelines of certain worlds. For instance, Forgotten Realms, Faerun. If we're talking about Baldur's Gate 3 and all that kind of stuff. So that is sort of my experience in that. When it comes to my experience with Larian's sort of mechanics on the technical side, I have dipped in a little bit into the modding system for that, for Divinity 2, which has been very awesome. I actually started recreating a thing of Carmilla and other Gothic tales. I was thinking about doing Dracula next because the assets in that are wonderful and fun. I tend to get along pretty well with my peers. I believe that if you want a creative and awesome world, it is good to listen and to hear people out. And people, a lot of times, have a lot of things to say. And you will be amazed at the sort of not only innovation that they come up with, but also the sort of supportive aspect and collaboration that people are willing to put out there. There are a lot of awesome people in the world, and I'm more than happy to listen to them, listen to the ideas, take them into consideration, and work them through. Um, so yeah. Also, when it comes to job experience, so I had mentioned my haunt experience at a petrified forest. Um, I don't necessarily expect the office to have the exact same environment as the haunt. The haunt was mostly in a thickly wooded forest, you know what I mean? And the conditions there were more physical and physically taxing. But strain also comes with working long hours in the office too. And depending on whether or not they are Orlando offices, there's still heat. There will always be heat if it's Florida. Um, but uh, but absolutely, and I'm more than happy to work with that, to work with wonderful people. I've had experience in disarming escalated situations in the past. That has come a lot in sort of the customer servicey aspects of things. And that was more at some of my other duties and jobs. For example, I have had to de-escalate situations when I was working um, at another individual place a little while back. Um, but yeah, for about 4 years in my youth, I'd worked with an organization called Families in Transition. They had helped families adjust to dire financial circumstances. My job was to essentially entertain the children at the event while their parents filed out paperwork and received financial aid. Now, one thing about that is not only do you get sort of these moments of wonderful improvisation with kids, um, because kids are the most creative minds out there, but also you have like this interesting environment where you're sort of you're playing a game, and that's a lot of the time. I mean, it's what any job is technically at the end of the day, but at the same time, when you're playing these roles, I think it's especially important to keep an open mind and to both give and take. But giving is also giving is important, but listening is very important, and listening to what those kids had to say when we're like bopping around as Harry Potter characters and all that kind of stuff was a really good time. In high school, I had worked as the vice president of the Thespian Society. I essentially had helped to facilitate the end of the year celebrations. That included organizing a space for us to use, designing the venue, creating polls for different decisions based on theming and all that kind of stuff, and also helping to direct. Now, with that sort of experience, it's actually kind of helpful because not only do you get the feedback of the community, but you also have different parts to what you're dealing with. So, contacting other individuals to get information was essential, and making sure that communication was thorough and back and forth. And I know on a technical team, especially with writing, interacting with all of these various roles, like art designers, concept people, technical managers, that's all very important. From my understanding, it is a very integrated process, and everybody has a key role to play. But in order for that to work, you need to make sure that communication is good. So, I intend on making sure that that experience is brought forward to the table. Um, and I had actually first come to when it comes to why I am here at this specific interview today. When I had seen that you were hiring world builders, I was immediately interested. And part of that was because my friends and I are currently going through Strahd, and one of the Curse of Strahd, which is one of the Dungeons and Dragons source books. And that had immediately snared my attention because I love that world so much. The gothic atmosphere and everything about it is just so fascinating, and to be able to warp people into that world, or to at least give them something to work with, so that they can create their own interesting and unique experiences, is something that not only do I admire, but I would like to be a part of. I would like to help in that aspect of things. Um, and when I heard that Larian was teaming up with Wizards of the Coast to bring that sort of uniqueness, I had that experience with Dungeons and Dragons, but Larian's Divinity was the closest that I had come to a free form, uh, you know, fascinating platform that is not only open but also has so many possibilities for so many like minute choices for the smallest things. Um, and just a slight dialogue change is all it takes to really make you feel like you've done something, to give you player agency. And so when I hear that these two powers uh, of giving players the feeling of free will, and sort of like enabling them, to feel like heroes, or like whatever role they choose to take on, that was something that intrigued me. So that is why I'm here today. Um, if there is anything else that you need to know, please feel free to contact me. Um, and I thank you for your time. And one way or the other, this has been a pleasure. I hope that you all have a wonderful day, that you stay safe, and that you keep creating. Always keep creating, keep thinking, and keep listening. So have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon.